All right, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Nerd Hotline. My name is Oscar.
My name's Colby.
My name's Cole.
So, Colby, you want to introduce what we're going to be talking about, or?
Yeah, I
All
should.
right.
This is a big shout out to Jose. For another shout out to Jose. You guys can find him on Instagram if you guys want to follow him. He does follow us on our Nerd Hotline page. He's asked us to go over reboots of classical like 80s shows. And what we see as the most valuable comics and pops or statues. I'm also joined here by Amanda and Portia.
Hi. Hey.
Um, they're going to be joining us. Other than that, we are all set to go. Let's start it off with the reboots of classical shows that we kind of want to see and do.
I honestly really want to see He-Man make a return, but with like more mature tones.
Yeah,
So how they did with Samurai Jack.
I mean they can do a lot more with He-Man too. They can also make it a live action. So that's something I really like is the fact that they might not even have to do like a cartoon. Really, they can kind of do more of a live action CGI type thing.
Give it like a dark story and stuff similar to the Witcher show coming out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm excited about that show too. I mean, I've never really played the video games, but it's something that you can really look forward to. I don't know if it follows the video games 100%. You two might know a little bit more about that than I do, but it's something that looks clean and it looks like it's going to be something that's very popular on Netflix and might keep people on that streaming service as they're going to be going head to head with, like we said 2 weeks ago, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Another show I kind of want to receive a better reboot than it did was Thundercats. Thundercats to me was kind of one of the shows I watched as a young kid. I mean, it just has a lot of story to it. I mean, the reboot that they have.
Can you talk about Thundercats? Like, what is it about?
Thundercat. I mean, it was kind of like He-Man. It's not necessarily like 100% like He-Man, but it has your main protagonist, and you have your big bad guy. I mean, it's hard to explain because there's different variations of Thundercats. Lion-O's the main character, though. He's the leader of the Thundercats. He has a sword that gives him the power. I mean, it's not like He-Man where he gains all these abilities. He's a normal person and he becomes this mythical being, but he's able to see what evil is happening so that him and the Thundercats can stop them. I mean, I just think they could adapt it to kind of like another CGI like He-Man, but they can also make it a better storyline and make it more smooth, maybe transition from when he was younger to adulthood and beyond, where they kind of touched that in the reboot that they did, but it was kind of like it lost you after the first season.
Well, honestly, like whichever show they do remake at some point, it honestly should be darker than the original because that way they're able to attract more to the original like audience.
Exactly. I mean, they kind of when they make reboots nowadays, they try to aim it right for the kids, and they kind of
forget about the originals.
Yeah, they lose a lot of the older audiences. Where if you do kind of sanction it for the kids that did watch Thundercats and He-Man, and a lot of those like. I mean, when it comes to that, though, is they also can kill a show too. I mean, my favorite show as a kid was Scooby Doo, and then they kept on remaking that, and it just kept on getting worse as they would redo it.
It would get more and more child friendly.
Yeah, so I mean, if they want to remake shows like that, they have to kind of have a darker tone. Like if they brought back Scooby Doo, where it was kind of like they did in the '80s and the '90s, and they're ghost hunting, and it was actually something you could get into where they had a story like the original one. You had a story, you're like, oh well, what's going to happen next week when I tune into Scooby Doo? And it made you want to tune into that show. I mean, the new one, I watched it until the end of What's New Scooby Doo, and it just wasn't the same for me anymore. So, I mean, I'm hoping that when they remake shows, it's something that we all want to enjoy, not something that's like, wow, this is awful.
All right. I know we talk about. I know we talk about superheroes a lot, but would you guys want to reboot a Smallville?
I'll see, like Smallville, like while it is quote unquote old, it literally came out the same year I was born, so I don't see any point in rebooting it right now.
Are we talking about older shows?
I think what Jose was trying to ask was like 80s and 90s, because even though we're all pretty young, I mean, I grew up on some of the 80s shows and 90s shows.
90s for sure. 90s baby.
But like I feel like the cartoons that we get nowadays, it's a double standard almost. As you get like an Adventure Time where they're talk about how bad the 80s, well, the 90s shows were all about this and that. But I've watched Adventure Time and watched these bunch of shows. A lot, it's sexualized for kids, and it's something where, do we really want something like that, or do you want to reboot like He-Man or something like that, where a kid could get interest into it? It might be a little bit darker, but it's not gonna be overly sexualized. It's gonna be fantasy, and it's gonna create maybe a spark interest in the younger generation to make
Not even
something
like
new.
they don't even have to go really dark. Like if you watch Gravity Falls, that has like a really deep story and dark themes to it while still being kid friendly.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, I agree with you on that. And then another one I could want to kind of see come back is like Flintstones or the Jetsons. But I mean, not even having to reboot it, you just kind of put the animations to this time and just continue with the story and stuff like that. I mean, those are things that they could do, and I feel like they try to make it so that kids will sit down and be invested in a storyline that might not be there. So you sit down, you have like Adventure Time. If you miss an episode, you might not know what's happening in this episode. But then again, when you watched, Scooby Doo, you could understand the storyline, pick it up because it was a new venture every time. But still, if you miss one episode, you might not get what's happening because they might reference an episode later on. So
Yeah.
it's just something where I liked that a little bit more, where you could have a new story, but also you still kind of had to watch everything to understand what was going to go on all around.
Like you can still enjoy it with just watching the basic episodes, but you'll enjoy it even more
Yeah,
if you actually go through
and then
everything.
when that's when it came to like movies that were made for TV, it made them so much more special because you invested so much time in these shows that when they made the movies for TVs, like you could sit down and watch them and you're there, you're ready to watch it, and it made it more enjoyable for me. Like Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase, that was my favorite movie when I was a kid growing up
Mm-hmm.
because this was like, oh my god, Scooby Doo, I love Scooby Doo. I mean, what's another show? I mean, from you guys' childhood, what's a show that you would want to bring back?
I would want them to.
Um,
I had it, but I just forgot it.
I mean, I didn't really watch a lot of 80s or 90s shows.
I mean, it could be
So
even something with you guys too, because I mean, you figure a lot of the shows that you watched as kids are now going on 10, 15 years old
Yeah.
if they ended in the early 2000s.
I
So
want them to give it another shot at Billy and Mandy. Like try to keep it as close to the original as possible and just continuing from when they can.
that was a good show. Yeah, I agree. Or another one, Codename Kids Next Door, or something like that, or Foster's Home for Imaginary
oh,
Friends.
Ooh, Foster's Home was good.
But you just something where you're like invested. Like I said, it just all for me. It's just investing your time. Like I think we talked about it like a day ago about Hey Arnold and stuff like that, and Rugrats. Like it's something where when you get a little bit older, you realize it was a little bit darker, but it was so interesting and so good as a Nickelodeon show. I mean, you lose so many of it now. They're trying to reboot Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle for the 100th time, and it just you draw in the younger audience because of all the animation styles that it has, but you lose a lot of your hardcore fans are like, well, this isn't what I grew up on, and I understand it's changing times, but they really, how many times have they remade the? I mean, they've even remade the live action movies, and it's hit or miss, and you either get the people that love it or you have the people that hate it. But I mean, I know that they're trying to redo another Hey Arnold movie, which would be big. It would be this explain like why Arnold's parents weren't there, and that's something I've always been looking forward to because I used to love that show as a kid. Those are the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys were like my Nickelodeon shows that I watch all the time because you could sit down and just understand, and it was educational too at the same time. Like if you got, I mean, I understand.
Yeah,
Shows that you might not have seen. I don't know. I mean,
I
or like
agree. I haven't watched a lot of the older shows. I haven't really had a childhood, but it's all right.
I
it's
really
okay.
wish. Well, I don't know if you guys ever watched the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yeah, I
Like,
kind of watch that. Yeah.
I kind of want them to like bring something like that back.
Maybe have like have like a video game character be brought into a show. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because I mean, we've gotten those, but like again, it's always a hit or miss. It depends on who directs it and who writes it. Because if you have someone that's not a good writer and maybe not the best at directing, it just doesn't turn out great. Like we had the Super Mario Brothers movie, that was awful.
Oh yeah.
But then you could have like a TV show like that, and it's amazing, and it just whoever writes it and whoever I mean, I feel like if maybe they did like maybe a Luigi's Mansion like TV show would be good. Something where it has a story on the video game side, but then you can also add to it and add more where we're not seeing like why Mario got abducted, what happened.
Oh no. Like if I were to do something that deep, I'd definitely go with Legend of Zelda.
Legend of Zelda. I mean, it's debatable. I mean, so on the tone of you know shows and stuff like that, you know, looking at like collectibles, comic books. I know Oscar, you collect tons of comic books,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
No,
more
we're
on
getting
the
old.
and then I'm more on the aspect of collecting like the statues and the valuables because they're so interesting because you can kind of get a part of a movie or a TV show. I mean, one I'm really looking to get is they made one for My Hero Academia. It's the Deku and Shoto the battle that they have.
Yeah. During
Uh,
the
yeah,
like the sports festival.
yeah. So that's something I want to get, and I know it's not super valuable, but it's something that it's cool and it just adds something to like that. Like I said, I'm an avid pop collector, so if you're on our website, it does give a little brief description of each of us, and me and Oscar probably could go here all day toe to toe about our pop collections.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but it's just something where I mean, even today we were kind of messaging about this, and we were looking over pricey pop vinyls, and the most expensive one we saw was like what $1,900.
Around
For
there.
a pop vinyl, that's a lot of money. But these are like Comic Con exclusive that you're like one of a kind, or there's only been a few made. Um, and then some of them are like originals. So it's just interesting to see the development of the collectibles because back in the day, the collectibles were stuff, movie props and stuff like that. You're spending thousands of dollars on, like the Jason Voorhees mask or the prop they use as Jason Voorhees or the glove from, Nightmare on Elm Street. But nowadays, it's the statues and stuff like that, those type of collectibles in comic books. I mean, I know Oscar, you have tons. Do you have any like very valuable like comic books collectibles or something like that?
So one of the comic books I have, which is the first issue of the Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah,
goes for around 40, $50 on its own.
that's pretty good.
So from what I've searched up, that's the most expensive comic book I have. And then my most expensive one is Skeletor from He-Man, but the first model, not the newest re-release, which goes for around $100 on Amazon.
That's pretty good.
But even though that is my most expensive or most valuable Funko, it cost me only $12 when I first got it, and my most expensive Funko I bought is Red Hood from San Diego Comic Con 2018,
Ooh, how much was the Red Hood?
around $40.
Oof.
Oh, where did you get the Skeletor one?
There's this, I don't know, it was like a little collectible store in SF, around SF.
That's cool.
And like
So
it
Was
was
it
my
an
first Funko,
was it
so
an exclusive one?
no, it's just like a really old. It's like one of the first Funkos that came out, so it's kind of hard to get to nowadays.
Oh, I
so
see.
I looked at what the most expensive comic book was. It's the
Is it the
Action
Superman
Comics
one?
#1, which initially cost 10 cents, but it's $3.2 million on eBay.
Wait, what do you mean it cost 10 cents?
So
when it was released
so Action Comic #1, I think that
in
was, I want to believe that's Superman.
1938.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first.
Yeah.
It was the first time they featured Superman.
Yeah. So I mean
Yeah, and then
that's easily gonna be the most pricey one. I mean, Superman's the most well-known superhero, other than maybe Captain America or Batman, or
I'd
even
say Spider-Man is still the #1 most recognized one.
okay, well, just because you have Mysterio as your icon guy doesn't mean it's bad. Just
No,
kidding.
but like
but
a bunch of people
then
grew up
again,
with Spider-Man
Superman is
before.
probably one of the oldest superheroes.
Exactly.
And
He's the most iconic one, but again, I mean, I do when I think about comics, I think Stanley and I think of Spider-Man. I don't really, Superman I see more as a TV show and movie than a comic book, even though I know there's tons of comics about Superman. Don't get me wrong, I know people are probably gonna get backlash on that one, but again, when I think of Superman, I think of seeing him on the TV versus reading about him. And then Spider Man, you have such a diverse storylines that you have. There's so many different alleys that you go down. So
yeah,
it's
there's so many. Yeah,
deadly.
but yeah, is there any other expensive ones that pop out? I mean, like the year later, they introduced Batman, which is also the second most expensive comic book that goes for about 2 million as well.
Usually, all the first appearance comics books are the most expensive.
Yeah.
So the most expensive statue is actually it's a urban material. Okay, I can't pronounce it. It's from Mazinger Z. It's for $20,000. It's something I probably would never buy in my life, but because I don't know what it is. One thing I've always wanted to buy is when you go to Disney World or Disneyland, they always have the Galaxy Edge or like the Star Wars area, and they always have like full suits of like
Stormtroopers.
yeah, or the mask, and they're like $4,000, or sometimes they're cheaper. Like you can buy the cheaper one that isn't like prop used. So it's
Yeah.
like $300, and I'm like that would just be my day because I love Star Wars and I love that type of stuff. So it's something that it's really interesting. Um, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's not really. It's really hard because what we can say is valuable is could be totally different than what's valuable to you. So if you have something that's valuable to you, then that's probably more valuable than anything we could ever say on the show. Because you could have a toy that your grandmother bought you that's like a He-Man action figure, or it's a Superman comic, and that could be priceless to you. You're never gonna sell it. So it's hard to say like what. I mean, we can always put a price value on everything, but again, what's value to you is different than what it's gonna say online.
Yeah. Like we're not saying like. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Kobe. I don't know how
Uh,
to reword it.
it's just something where I feel like where people are gonna say, well, I have this, and just because it's not valuable to somebody else doesn't mean it's not valuable. Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, you're always gonna have something that's valuable to you, whether it be a little small trinket or toy, and it's gonna be more than to you than anything else. I mean, to this day, I have a teddy bear that my mom got me my first Christmas, or I think it was one of my aunts got me, and I would never ever trade that thing for the world. And that thing's more valuable to me than anything. But
Mm-hmm.
then again, it might be. I mean, it actually. I think it does actually have a lot of money because they discontinued that line of bear. So unless you have it, you can never replace it. So it's something where it is might be valuable now, but it's something that it doesn't matter how much it is. It's how much it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of
Jeez.
so to kind of move it along or kind of move forward, a big thing is Godzilla, and this is Oscar's favorite thing. Oscar's been waiting to talk to this since episode.
Yes.
There's actually a expensive Godzilla statue that goes for 1.5 million.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
made of
there
solid
is.
gold.
So Oscar, are you gonna buy that?
And it stands 9 feet tall.
Okay, no, I'm not that into Godzilla.
Okay, so Godzilla.
So you just in case you want it. But, all right.
Yeah, but Godzilla's one of those things that I recently just started getting really into, and holy shit, it's amazing.
Well,
Did you watch
the original ones? Yeah. Did you watch the original ones?
I've seen most of the original ones, just not enough. All of them.
So
Did you see the new one?
Oh yeah, King of Monsters. Hell yeah, I did.
Was
so
it good?
Oh yeah.
have you not seen it?
You haven't
I haven't
seen King
seen
of
it yet.
Monsters?
What I like,
No.
what I like, what they're doing is they're remaking the whole monster.
Monster Universe.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Because
I mean, it would be pretty cheesy if they tried to recreate the originals.
I mean, it'd be pretty hard because they have a good storyline, but they are kind of following that, and they're actually making better. I mean, if we do remember, there was a Godzilla 2000, and that was an awful,
That's
awful.
that's not Godzilla. We don't talk about that.
But
That's literally the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
no, it was
Just-
Godzilla, but sadly, it was Godzilla.
But it
But-
looked like.
But when you it's something where you can get reinvested again, where they are, fitting the normal structure of the original ones, of having Godzilla be this hero, and because a lot of the times you see Godzilla and he's the villain or he's the bad guy in like memes or anything or gifs that you see, but
because
like
okay, so
Godzilla,
like because a lot of people that don't really watch the Godzilla movies, they'll see just Godzilla destroying the city half the time, but they don't know that it's mostly to protect the people itself.
exactly.
Yeah.
But what I like that they did in this movie is add Mothra. So I mean,
Didn't they have a Ghidorah too?
they
They
Ghidorah,
had, they had Mothra, Ghidorah, Rodan,
and they had
Behemoth,
they had
and like 2 or 3 other ones that I don't know the names of.
So
And-
do you guys think they're gonna make any more films?
yeah,
Oh, we got
like
Godzilla versus
sequels?
King Kong coming after this.
the King
Oh
versus
really?
yeah,
The King versus the God.
Do you think
and
we're ever gonna get another like mecha monster?
you will. I mean,
I'm guessing it because like right now it would be kind of cheesy to introduce a fully mecha monster to the Godzilla universe at its current state.
Yeah, of course.
So what I'm thinking they're doing is they'll introduce like a cyborg version of Ghidorah, where it's partially like
yeah.
actually Ghidorah, but it's also made up of electronic parts to make it stronger.
Oh. I see.
Um,
Do you guys have any favorite monsters from any of the films?
I like Kong. Kong's my favorite only because what they did with this one. They kind of showed the beginning of Kong, and we were talking about this yesterday, and how King Kong was only a baby in that film, and so he was only 50 meters tall, and Godzilla's well over 100 or more because he's like 300 feet tall.
Yeah.
So where Kong's only a child in that film, and Kong was a baby, he's not done growing because it was in the 70s, and so they even talked about this, that he was going to be fully grown in the movie, and that it's going to be even better, even though he doesn't have powers like Godzilla, where he has his like breath, the radiation breath. He has the tenacity and the smarts and the strategic where and all.
Because when you think about it, like Godzilla, well, he is pretty fast for his size. He's going up against pretty much a giant monkey, like something that can easily like run circles around him.
I mean, King Kong is not just a monkey; he is a monkey. He's just a giant.
Yeah, but like you get what I'm saying. Like it's a monkey.
Yeah.
Like they're fast, they're smart, they know what they're doing.
Exactly. No, but I mean, it's just gonna be interesting to see, and because again, at the end of the movie, you kind of got a lot of the end credit scenes that we always love and get in Marvel movies, where it kind of draws you into the next film, and that's why I really liked where they didn't tie any of King Kong into the film, other than like small hints at him, like
like they're just letting us know that he is still there.
Because when Ghidorah calls all the kaiju or the monsters or the titans, King Kong doesn't move because he's not a quote unquote titan. that was birthed from ancient times. His family is, but he isn't. He was built to protect. That's what they're trying to like. They're trying to get that King Kong's the protector of the of Earth, and that even though Godzilla protects Earth, that he's necessarily in it for himself. He's like the big bad. So I think in this movie that's coming up, King Kong's gonna be on our side, and Godzilla's gonna be on for
Like
himself.
I'm guessing Godzilla's like the whole power of being the king now is gonna get to his head, and he's gonna be like, might as well just conquer the whole planet.
Yeah. Well, because remember, we get all the Titans at the end kind of going to him, so he's gonna have this nice big army, and Kong's gonna be by himself.
Pretty much, I'm guessing with the people on his side.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see. But again, I think that we're gonna get some surprises. Like there is a Mecha Kong,
Ghidorah.
and there's all that. But I think we're getting.
There's a bunch of mecha monsters.
Well, I know, but
Mecha
like the one most
Godzilla.
likely right now is Ghidorah.
I also feel
Probably,
what
yeah.
happened too is that Kong maybe has had a child somehow. Even though they say he's the last of the kind, I think maybe that there is another one, and then he has to have at least something else with him because there's no way he's surviving on the island by himself with the eaters that he is underneath the first layer of the world.
Well, I mean, in King of Monsters, they were each attacking different parts of the world separately. So what if they each go one by one?
True.
Like Godzilla's just staying back while they fight, and then at the very end, he's like, "I'll do it myself."
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's interesting to see then if Mothra plays in part because Mothra's kind of like the neutral good or bad. So
She's the one pretty much keeping Godzilla under
at,
control in a way.
yeah, so maybe with Mothra gone, but then she gets reborn and then she tries to stop him from going after Kong because
Ends up killing Mothra again in the process, maybe.
yeah. So I mean that's interesting to see. I mean, again, that's big and stuff like that. So what do you guys looking forward to it? Or are you
So like future films?
yes, future battles.
I don't know. I don't know that much about Godzilla. Any ideas, Oscar?
Well, there's still like plenty of like other things
Titans.
that get introduced with the Godzilla universe, like other than more monsters for him to fight. There, at some point, he does have children.
There's so many monsters.
No, but like at one point, he actually does have like a kid that eventually grows up to be just as big as Godzilla. So,
Godzuki.
Yep.
So on that note, though, we did put a question on our Instagram, and we got some great answers. So we're gonna read off a couple of the answers. They all get shouted.
Oscar, you want to go with yours?
All right. So I posted the questions on my cosplay account as well, where I got 2 answers. So while I pull that up, let me pull that up real quick. Do you guys have like already access or?
I know.
I have one from it's Ale Biolante. I don't know who that is. Destroyer, Mechagodzilla, and Angurius. I don't know how to pronounce it, but let's start with Biolante. You guys know who that is? Biolante. Let's see. Oh, so it's a comic book character. I don't even. It's one of the monsters from Godzilla. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's pretty much a giant carnivorous plant.
So who gave us that answer?
It says fuck underscore. It's underscore Ale.
Do you say?
I don't know who that is.
I thought you said
It's underscore Ale.
I thought you said fuck. It's underscore. I'm like, whose name? What?
That's his name.
It actually is.
That's pretty funny. The next one is Maui, and that's a shout out to M.
Monique.
Yeah, that's my mom.
Monique L 1970.
That's my mom. So shout out to my mom for giving.
Your mom?
Yeah, we talked about that today. She just likes.
My mom's older.
Wait, what's up?
And then we have one that we're gonna keep anonymous so that not to anger anybody. Someone said my mother-in-law versus gun, which is pretty funny. We found that pretty common.
We don't want to include the person's name.
Nope.
All right.
All right.
And
So
also,
for my account,
I'm gonna finish one more. So we also have our normal person who answers our question. Timolingus, Godzilla versus Triptychon. It's a Transformers character.
That's
So
pretty cool. So what
that
did
one's
you
pretty cool, I guess.
on
so on
yours?
my list. So for mine, two people answered. One of them is once again Chimilingus, and this time he said Godzilla versus Mega Rayquaza, which never thought about putting him against Pokemon,
That's pretty cool.
which is pretty awesome. And another one that I thought was pretty interesting because it puts one type of giant dragon monster versus an actual dragon is Smog. This was an answer by e.liz.cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Smog would be interesting. Like, yeah, while Godzilla is a lot stronger, Smog is, I feel like, a lot smarter, more tactical, faster, and the small size may be more beneficial.
I mean, I agree to disagree because I know a lot about the Lord of the Rings.
Like, I'm sure Smog won't be able to do much damage, but it will be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, huge shout out to Jose. You guys can give him a follow through our page. He's a big supporter of that. Do you guys have a response to the question? Who do you want to see fight Godzilla?
What?
Out of the responses.
No, I'm talking to Amanda and Portia.
Or
I want to see fight Godzilla. Out of who? Like
Any character you want.
Exactly. Like,
So
he would kill everybody.
So Portia says Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
Or the Hulk.
Captain Marvel.
And then and then Amanda says Captain Marvel. So
She's bad.
okay. Ask them if they have do you guys have any collectibles? Anything.
Collectibles.
I'm the only one that collects nerdy stuff in the house.
Yeah.
But like, doesn't have to be nerdy.
They're learning from me.
No,
Oh,
my dad
What's
watches
on it?
all the time. I collect shot glasses. I do too.
that's nice.
We have
Do they have
Power
like designs on them?
And TMNT.
Yep, those are mine.
Another character I thought of to pitch
Yeah.
against Godzilla. I don't know if you guys know who Fink Fank Foom is.
No.
No,
It's
can you
this
explain?
giant dragon from Marvel.
Oh,
That is literally the only way
Never
I
heard
can
of
explain it.
but yeah. Well, that sums up for this topic.
Well, actually, that sums up the whole episode, actually, guys. But before we let you guys go, as you know, we are a new podcast here on Apple and Spotify. So if you guys could give us a subscribe and a 5-star review, I would actually much greatly appreciate it. Within the next month, we are starting a Patreon that will stream our more longer episodes and more premium content that we're going to be putting on. We're going to be adding more shows and stuff like that. Me and Cole are going to be starting The Ring in mid-August. It's our fantasy football podcast. That's going to be a different show on Apple. We're going to get both of them on there. It's going to be a 20 to 25-minute podcast covering that week's fantasy and the league that we're creating. If you have any interest in that, please give myself or Cole a shout out, and we'll gradually get you on there. Sorry about that. The winner of that gets to a shout out, and they get to be on the podcast, this podcast, as well as the guest host.
Do they get a shirt or something?
They will get
poster,
a shirt,
a poster, right?
No, I think it's a T-shirt for that one, and they also get to be the guest host next year with us for the whole podcast for the whole fantasy football season. So they'll kind of join us. give us their take and stuff like that. We are going to be adding more services. Oscar had came to me a couple days ago about asking about doing a thing for him about video games. So that's going to be something we're going to be putting on our YouTube. And we're going to be starting a Kickstarter as well for our T-shirts. Mind you guys, and this is what I'll tell you guys, none of the proceeds that you're going to be donating will be going to any of our pockets. This will be going to making sure that we have the best podcast for you guys, the best merch and all this stuff. Again, look in a couple months and we're going to be having our merch and all that stuff up and ready to go. We want ideas as well. So if you have any ideas for our shirts, T-shirts, sweatpants, anything that you guys want to see us do, we will try to accompany that. Please look out for our Patreon. And then next week we do have a special surprise guest. Other than that, this is Colby.
This is cool.
God damn it, Cole. No. I was going to go. Okay, and this is Oscar.
And we're signing off of the podcast. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Hotliners.